Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Yags. And the Houston Rockets a couple years ago were a team that they were the laughing stock of the league, right? If you guys remember in 2020, 2021, around that, they were basically at the bottom end of the Western Conference, right? They were a team that other teams would circle their name and be like, yep, that's a W for sure. And now they're a 50-plus win team. They have a crazy good defense. They apparently found their true number one scorer that they actually needed. And they've done this actually quite fast over the last 2-3 years, if you really think about it. So let's recap to last season, right? So Houston broke through with 52 wins and a crazy good defense. Right? They were monsters on the glass. They are a very physical team, and they are relentless on the point of attack. They were led by Amen Thompson. Let's start with that. Amen Thompson, really good on defense, all defensive team. He's going to be a problem in this league for many years to come. You had Fred VanVleet, you had Alperen Sengun playing really well. Even Jalen Green for parts of the league was a really good player. You can't doubt about that. But then the playoffs came and they had a serious problem. They just couldn't score in the half court, right? Every time they crossed the half court line, they had absolutely no clue what they were doing. They hoped that their second chance points would keep them in the game. And if they didn't, it would just be hero ball, just throw it up, see what happens. And that worked until it didn't, right? So a 7-game loss to Golden State ended the run. And I think that's really when they made the choice to go after a true number one scorer, which is really what they needed. They needed someone that bends defenses, someone that punishes elite switching and can survive deep in the shot clock possessions. So they pulled the trigger on Kevin Durant, right? Which I think was pretty good because I don't really think they gave up a lot to get him. So even at 36, Durant's efficiency bordered an absurd, right? 26.5 points per game on 52% shooting from the field and 43% from three, plus decent defense and reliable playmaking. So Durant, you kind of have to pick your poison. High release over a contest, get to a spot with 2 dribbles, draw help, trigger a cascade of quality looks. He's still that guy. And the availability concerns, over the last 2 seasons, only 27 games missed combined. Not perfect, but it's definitely reassuring. And then we start looking at the rest of the roster, right? We have Alperen Sengun, super young, 22. Arguably Houston's second best player. I think it's Amen Thompson, but someone could say that he was Houston's best player on a 50-win team. He has crazy good footwork. He plays kind of old school, like a 90s, 80s type of guy, but crazy good, really good. He kind of plays like a point guard from that center position. I think he's growing his mid-range package. His defense could be better, but I can definitely see Sengun and Durant playing that 2-man game on the elbow with dribble handoffs or something like that. So that's going to be super interesting to see. Of course, you got Amen Thompson, right? Already looks like a terror, made for playoff basketball. He's a crazy, violent first step, second jump explosions, and defensive instincts that smother primary ball handling. So with KD drawing most of the attention and Sengun being a completely capable passer, I can definitely see Amen Thompson just living with backdoor cuts and just living in that dunker spot, just getting super easy buckets for sure. His jumper does need to improve. I think that's really, one of the part of his game that need to improve immediately. He has no jumper whatsoever. He gets really well to the hoop, but he needs to develop something, be it a mid-range, a 3-pointer, it can be anything. Because today he doesn't have it, but what he doesn't have in terms of jump shooting, he has in terms of defense, right? So he is a crazy good defender, super athletic. He generally guards the best player on the team, and he does a really good job of that. So I think those are like the 3 main players for this upcoming Houston Rockets squad for 2025. But you have a fairly good squad with the rest of the team. So you got VanVleet, a guy who is kind of a streaky shooter, but he can light it up from 3, and he's got crazy toughness. They picked up Dorian Finney-Smith in free agency from the Lakers, who's, that classic 3-and-D. He gives you 40% from 3 on any night, really good from the corner. Tari Eason, I'm a big fan. He's young, but he can come in, give you some really good energy minutes. He gets boards, gets deflections, can shoot the 3. Jabari Smith Jr. is someone that I personally enjoy a lot. I think he's a guy that's gotten better over the years. He didn't come into the league and be what most people expected him to be, but I think he's developed really well, especially in his 3-point shooting, and I think he will most likely be the 4 for that Houston Rockets team. Steven Adams, he played really well against the Warriors, and he killed them on the glass, right? He's a guy that's going to come in, give you boards. That's basically most of what he does. So they picked up Clint Capela as well, which didn't make much sense to me. I think that was one of those moves that I was kind of scratching my head about. I didn't really understand why they made that move. But another guy to keep an eye on is Sheppard, right? He was their pick from last year, and the guy can light it up from three as well. He didn't get many minutes, but I think maybe this year with the lack of backup point guard that the Houston Rockets have, maybe he can do something. They aren't a super deep team, but I think they're deep enough, and they're just really good on the glass. And I think they have everything, really good defense, a true number one. I think that they can for sure make some noise in the Western Conference this year. So the identity of this team, in my opinion, is for sure their defense and their rebounding. So last postseason taught them a very durable lesson. Against elite shot making, second chances are a must. So the Rockets, they loaded up with big guys, right? So you have Adams coming back, you have Sengun, KD is very long. He can for sure get rebounds as well. Are you limited with switching when you go that double big of Sengun and Capela? Yes, you are. But you make up for it on the rebounding side, right? And then you add Amen Thompson, Tari Eason, Dorian Finney-Smith, really big wings. Anything can happen with that squad on the floor for sure. One of the weaknesses for this Rockets team is, like I said, I think they just don't have a true backup point guard at this point. Who is going to take the ball up? Is it going to be Durant? Is it going to be Fred VanVleet? Even Amen Thompson took the ball up sometimes. But who is the backup point guard? You have Sheppard, right? Top 5 pick last year. I think he's good. He has really good shooting, but I don't know if he's ready for the role. Last year, he wasn't for sure. Maybe this year he will be ready. You have Aaron Holiday on that team. Like I said, Amen Thompson can maybe take the load off sometimes, but he's definitely not your number one ball handler. I can definitely see, depending where the Rockets are at in February, that they may go after a veteran to just come in and, a Dennis Schroeder, I don't know, something like that. Maybe they can try to go after somebody to be that secondary ball handler just to have another guy. And when we look at the Western Conference, right, we have OKC and Denver, OKC still being the top dog, but you got Denver. For me, Denver and Houston are basically right next to each other. I do have Houston being a little better. I just think they can defend a lot more than Denver can, although Denver has a better offense, especially in the half court, and they have Jokic, the best player in the world. So that's going to be pretty interesting to see how that's going to work out. But I can definitely see the Rockets being second or third next year. I would bet second, if I was to say so. It really depends on how Durant's going to play and how he's going to fit with this Rockets team. It's going to take some time for them to get used to one another and build that chemistry. But I can definitely see the Rockets being the second seed in the West again this year. And what I really liked about the whole Kevin Durant trade, the Jalen Green, which I kind of touched on in the beginning of the video, is that they didn't give up a lot, right? So they still hold multiple picks from the Suns. They're super young. They're deep enough. They can easily go out and get somebody else. If the KD thing doesn't work, maybe get KD, package him up with a couple picks, send it to someone else that maybe wants to win now. I think the KD thing is going to work out. I just think they have a good team built around him where he doesn't have to defend too much and can just focus on his offense. But them not having to give up that much for KD, just because the Suns kind of had their hands tied and couldn't do anything. Everybody knew that the Suns had absolutely nothing to offer, in my opinion, was a super good move from the front office of the Houston Rockets. So I'm really curious to see how this Houston Rockets team is going to play in the postseason, right? They have the half-court offense. They have the possession margin just because, they bring out that double big look. They have really good rebounding, second chance points, which gives them extra possessions. They have one of the best defensive teams in the league, and they are very versatile, right? Really long wings. They can switch pretty much everything depending on the lineup that they put out there. But there are some risks, right? You have health, you have shooting variance. You have some players that aren't super good at shooting, Sengun, Amen Thompson, right? And you still have an experience. You have guys that are super young, were tested last year, right? We saw OKC, they lost to Dallas, they won last year. So maybe something similar could happen with the Rockets, right? You have those young guys already being tested going to the second round, but that is a risk. It always is. But yeah, guys, I think the Houston Rockets are going to be a very serious problem in the NBA this year. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Where do you guys think the Rockets will end up? Are they or are they not better than the Denver Nuggets for that second seed? Maybe some of you think that they're the best team in the West. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. As always, if you enjoy the content, leave your like, subscribe to the channel. We're trying to hit those 1,000 subscribers. And that's it for today's video. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.